Good morning, friends. In this section, we are going to study remaining schemes from remaining ministries. From Ministry of Rural Development, we have 8 schemes from this ministry. Let us discuss. In this first one is Unique Land Parcel Identification Number Scheme. ULPIN. The Unique Land Parcel Identification Number Scheme has been launched in 10 states and will be rolled out across the country by March 2022. Under this scheme, a 14-digit identification number will be issued to every plot of land in the country. 14 digits unique ID for each land parcel based on geo-reference coordinate of vertices of international standard and compliance of Electronic Commerce Code Management Association ECCMA shortcut standard and open geospatial consortium OGC standards. It is being described as the order for land, a number that would uniquely identify every surveyed parcel of land and prevent land fraud, especially in rural India, where land records are outdated and disputed. The identification will be based on the longitude and latitude of the land parcel and is dependent on detailed surveys and geo-referenced cadastral maps. Benefits. The benefits of ULPIN are multitudinous. The single source of information can authenticate the ownership and in turn it can end the dubious ownership. It will help identify the government lands easily and protect land from shabby land transaction. Second one, National Social Assistance Program NSAP. The NSAP is a centrally sponsored scheme under the Ministry of Rural Development. It came into effect from 15th August 1995. It represents a significant step towards the fulfillment of the DPSP in Article 41 of the Constitution, means it directs the state to provide public assistance to its citizens in case of unemployment, old age, sickness and disability, and in other cases of undeserved want within the limit of its economic capacity and development. It aims to provide financial assistance to the elderly, widows and persons with disabilities in the form of social pensions. Coverage. It currently covers more than 3 crore people who are below the poverty line BPL, including about 80 lakh widows, 10 lakh disabled and 2.2 crore elderly. Presently, NSAP comprises of 5 schemes, namely Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. Second one, Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme. Third one, Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Scheme. Fourth one, National Family Benefit Scheme. Fifth one, Annapurna. Third scheme from this ministry, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. MGNREGS. The scheme was introduced as a social measure that guarantees the right to work. The key tenet of this social measure and labor law is that the local government will have to legally provide at least 100 days of wage employment in rural India to enhance their quality of life. Key objectives: generation of paid rural employment of not less than 100 days for each worker who volunteers for unskilled labor, proactively ensuring social inclusion by strengthening livelihood base of rural poor, creation of durable assets in rural areas such as wells, ponds, roads and canals, reduce urban migration from rural areas, create rural infrastructure by using untapped rural labor. The following are the eligibility criteria for receiving the benefits under MGNREGA scheme. First one, must be citizen of India to seek MGNREGA benefits. Second one, job seeker has completed 18 years of age at the time of application. Third one, the applicant must be part of a local household. That means application must be made with local Gram Panchayat. Fourth one, applicant must volunteer for unskilled labor. Key facts related to this scheme. First one, the Ministry of Rural Development MRD, Government of India is monitoring the entire implementation of this scheme in association with state governments. Second one, individual beneficiary oriented works can be taken up on the cards of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, small or marginal farmers, or beneficiaries of land reforms or beneficiaries under the Indira Awas Yojana of the Government of India. Third one, within 15 days of submitting the application or from the day work is demanded, wage employment will be provided to the applicant. Right to get unemployment allowance in case employment is not provided within 15 days of submitting the application or from the date when work is sought. Social audit of MGNREGA works is mandatory, which lends to accountability and transparency. Next, the Gram Sabha is the principal forum for wage seekers to raise their voices and make demands. Seventh one, it is the Gram Sabha and Grama Panchayat which approves the shelf of works under MGNREGA and fix their priority. Role of Grama Sabha in this: it determines the order of priority of works in the meetings of Grama Sabha, keeping in view potential of the local area. It needs local resources. Second one, monitor the execution of works within the GP. Roles of Grama Panchayat: receiving applications for registration, verifying registration applications, registering households, issuing job codes, receiving applications for work, issuing dated receipts for these applications for work, allotting work within 15 days of submitting the application or from the date when work is sought in the case of an advance application, identification and planning of works, developing shelf of projects including determination of the order of the priority. Responsibilities of state government in MGNREGA. First one, framed rules on matters pertaining to state responsibilities under Section 32 of the Act. Second one, develop and notify the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme for the state. Second one, set up the State Employment Guarantee Council SAGC. Third one, set up a state level MGNREGA implementation agency or mission with adequate number of high caliber professionals. Fourth one, set up a state level MGNREGA social audit agency or directorate with adequate number of people with knowledge on MGNREGA process and demonstrated commitment to social audit. Fifth one, establish and operate a State Employment Guarantee Fund SDGF. Fourth scheme from this ministry, Rashtriya Ajivika Mission. Official name, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Missions, implemented by Ministry of Rural Development. Mission objective, organizing the rural poor women into self-help groups SHGs and continuously nurturing and supporting them to take economic activities so that they come out of abject poverty. Sub-schemes under DNRLM. Rural Self-Employment Training Institutes enables a trainee to take bank credit and start his or her own micro-enterprises. Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program for facilitating the rural poor for setting up of micro-enterprises. Ajivika Gramin Express Yojana to facilitate transport facilities in the rural areas, which also provides self-employment opportunities to the rural poor. Fifth scheme from this ministry, Grama Panchayat Development Plans GPDP and VPRP. With the current COVID-19 situation, the NRLM has designed an online training program to train all state missions across the country on village poverty reduction plans VPRP in partnership with Kudambashri National Resource Organization, National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, Hyderabad and Ministry of Panchayati Raj. Water Gram Panchayat Development Plans GPDP. GPDP is conducted from 2nd October to 31st December every year across the country under the People's Plan Companion. Local bodies across the country are expected to prepare contest-specific, need-based GPDP. It brings together both the citizens and their elected representatives in the decentralized planning process. Water Village Poverty Reduction Plans VPRP. PPC guidelines and the joint advisory issued by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Ministry of Rural Development has mandated self-help groups and their federations under Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihoods Mission, to participate in the annual GPDP planning process and prepare the Village Poverty Reduction Plan. VPRP is a comprehensive demand plan which needs to be integrated with the Grama Panchayat development plan. The VPRP is presented in the Grama Sabha meetings from October to December every year. In fact, the Article 243G of the Constitution intended to empower the Grama Panchayats by enabling the state governments to develop powers and authority in respect of all 29 subjects listed in the 11th schedule for local planning and implementation of schemes for economic development and social justice. Sixth scheme from this ministry, Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program SVEP. SVEP has made an impressive progress and has extended business support services and capital infusion to 153 blocks of 23 states of August 2020. Around 2,000 trained cadre of Community Resource Person Enterprise Promotion CRPEP are providing services to rural entrepreneurs, and as on August 2020, around 1 lakh enterprises are supported by them. What is Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program SVEP? Implemented by Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihoods Mission, Ministry of Rural Development as a sub-scheme since 2016. Focus of this scheme, providing self-employment opportunities with financial assistance and training in business management and soft skills while creating local community cadres for promotion of enterprises. Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India ADII, Ahmedabad is the technical support partner of SVEP. SVEP promotes both individual and group enterprises, set up and promote enterprises majorly on manufacturing, trading and service sectors, who are community resource persons, enterprise promotion. The program seeks to develop pool of community resource persons, enterprise promotion CRPEP, who are local and support entrepreneurs setting up rural enterprises. The CRPEPs are certified and provides business support service to the entrepreneurs. Seventh scheme from this ministry, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramina Kaushal Yojana DDU-GKY. It is a placements linked skill development program which allows skilling in a PPP mode and assured placements in regular jobs in an organization not honored by the skilled person. DDU-JKY is being undertaken as PPP project all over the country through project implementing agencies registered with the Ministry of Rural Development. Further, guidelines of this scheme mandate state governments to take up skill training projects with corporate social responsibility funding. DDU-GKY guidelines provide for setting apart 15% of the funds at for national level beneficiaries from among minority groups. Beneficiary eligibility: rural youth 15 to 35 years, SC/ST women, PBTG or PWT up to 45 years. Eighth scheme from this ministry, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. The erstwhile rural housing scheme Indira Awas Yojana has been restricted into Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin from 1st April 2016. Eighth scheme from this ministry, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. The erstwhile rural housing scheme Indira Awas Yojana has been restructured into the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin from 1st April 2016. It aims at providing houses with basic amenities to all houseless householders and those households living in Kurja and dilapidated house by 2022. Target: construction of 2.95 crore houses with all basic amenities by the year 2022. Cost sharing: the cost of unit assistance in this scheme is shared between central and state governments in the ratio of 60:40 in plain areas and 90:10 for northeastern and Himalayan states. This scheme envisages training of rural masons with the objective of improving workmanship and quality of construction of houses while at the same time increasing availability of skilled masons and enhancing employability of such masons. Selection of beneficiaries based on housing deprivation parameters of socio-economic and caste census 2011 subject to 13-point exclusion criteria followed by Gram Sabha verification. Next ministry, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. In this, we have 6 schemes. First scheme from this ministry, Global Housing Technology Challenge. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi laid the foundation of 6 lighthouse projects. Foundation of 6 lighthouse projects (LHPs) as part of Global Housing Technology Challenge India (GHTC India) initiative in 6 states. What are lighthouse projects? The LHPs are being constructed at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, Rajkot, Gujarat, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, Ranchi, Jharkhand, Agartala, Tripura, and Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. They comprise about 1,000 houses at each location along with allied infrastructure facilities. These projects will demonstrate and deliver ready-to-live houses at an expedited pace within 12 months as compared to conventional brick and mortar construction, and will be more economical, sustainable, of high quality and durability. These LHPs demonstrate a variety of technologies including prefabricated sandwich panel system in LHP at Indore, monolithic concrete construction using tunnel formwork, etc. Key features of the Global Housing Technology Challenge are launched in 2019. The challenge is undertaken under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. GHTC aims to fast-track the construction of affordable housing and meet the target of constructing 1.2 crore houses by 2022. GHTC focuses on identifying and mainstreaming proven demonstrable technologies for lighthouse projects and spotting potential future technologies for incubation and acceleration support through ASHA, Affordable Sustainable Housing Accelerators India. Second scheme, Safai Mitra Suraksha Yojana. It is a challenge for 243 cities to switch over to mechanized cleaning of sewers and septic tanks by April 30, 2021. It aims to ensure that no life of any sewer or specific tank cleaner is ever lost again owing to the issue of hazardous cleaning. The initiative was launched on the occasion of World Toilet Day, 19th November. Background: the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013 and various judgments of Honorable Supreme Court expressly prohibit hazardous cleaning, that means manual entry into a specific tank or sewer without protective gear and observing operating procedures. Third scheme from this ministry, PM Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, PM SVA Nidhi. Foodtech Major Swiggy has signed an MOU with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to bring India's street food vendors on its online platform. The initiative under PM Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi or PM SV Nidhi or PM SVA Nidhi scheme will help these vendors grow their business, which was severely hit and are still struggling due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Overview of the scheme. It is a special microcredit facility plan to provide affordable loan of up to 10,000 to more than 50 lakh street vendors who had their business operational on or before 24th March 2020. The scheme is valid until March 2022. Small Industries Development Bank of India is the technical partner for implementation of this scheme. It will manage the credit guarantee to the lending institutions through Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro and small enterprises. Loans under this scheme. Under this scheme, vendors can avail working capital loan of up to Rs 10,000, which is repayable in monthly installments within 1 year. Loans under this scheme. Under this scheme, vendors can avail working capital loan of up to Rs 10,000, which is repayable in monthly installments within 1 year. On timely or yearly repayment of the loan, an interest subsidy of 7% per annum will be credited to the bank accounts of beneficiaries through direct benefit transfer DBT on 6 months basis. There will be no penalty on yearly repayment of loan. Eligibility. This scheme is applicable to vendors, telewalas, etc. in different areas or contestants who supply goods and services. Street vendors belonging to the surrounding Pre-urban or rural areas are also included. Fourth scheme from this ministry, Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework 2.0, launched by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. CSCAF initiative intends to inculcate a climate-sensitive approach to urban planning and development in India. The objective of CSCAF is to provide a clear roadmap for cities towards combating climate change while planning and implementing their actions, including investments. The Climate Center for Cities under National Institute of Urban Affairs is supporting to this ministry in implementation of CSCAF. The framework has 28 indicators across 5 categories, namely, first one, energy and green buildings; second one, urban planning, green cover and biodiversity; third one, mobility and air quality; fourth one, water management; fifth one, waste management. Fifth scheme from this ministry, ODF Plus and ODF Plus under Phase 2 of the Swachh Bharat Mission. Parliamentary Standing Committee on Urban Development tabled its report on the performance of the Swachh Bharat Mission in Lok Sabha. Key observations: despite the fact that work on 3 protocols under the next phase of Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2 is ODF Plus, ODF and Water Plus is to be completed by 2024. The ground situation was not matching with the assigned timeline. The progress has been slow. Second point, less than 30% of the cities have been certified as ODF plus. Third point, the number of ODF cities is 411, means that less than 10% cities are certified as ODF so far. What is ODF plus? ODF plus. ODF Plus and ODF Plus were launched in August 2018 to further scale up and sustain the work undertaken by the cities after achieving the ODF status under Phase 1 of the Swachh Bharat Mission. Eligibility: cities that had been certified ODF at least once on the basis of the ODF protocols are eligible to declare themselves as SBM ODF Plus and SBM ODF++. What do they mean? ODF Plus and ODF++ are aimed towards proper maintenance of toilet facilities and safe collection, conveyance, treatment and disposals of all facial sludge and sewage, while ODF Plus focuses on toilets with water, maintenance and hygiene. ODF++ focuses on toilets with sludge and septage management. What is Water Plus? Announced in August 2019, Water Plus aims to sustain toilets by treating and reuse of water. It contributes to the government's focus on water conservation and reuse under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan and is in alignment with United Nations mandated Sustainable Development Goal number 6 on clean water and sanitation. Background: under Phase 1 of the Swachh Bharat Mission, 99% of the cities became ODF. The Union Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs had claimed in December 2019. Sixth scheme from this ministry, Swachh Sarvekshan SS 2021. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is now in the process of conducting the sixth edition of the Swachh Sarvekshan SS to rank all cities under Swachh Bharat Mission Urban with Quality Council of India as its implementation partner. SS was introduced by this ministry in 2016 as a competitive framework to encourage cities to improve the status of urban sanitation while encouraging large-scale citizen participation. The first survey was undertaken in 2016, covered 73 cities. By 2020, the survey had grown to cover 440 cities. The objective of the survey is to encourage large-scale citizen participation, ensure sustainability of initiatives taken towards garbage-free and open defecation-free cities, provide credible outcomes which would be validated by third-party certification, institutionalize existing systems through online process and create awareness amongst all sections of society about the importance of working together towards making towns and cities more habitable and sustainable. Additionally, this survey also intends to foster a spirit of healthy competition amongst towns and cities to improve their service delivery to citizens and move towards creating cleaner cities. From next ministry, Ministry of Tribal Affairs. In this we have two schemes. First one, Bandhan Vikas Kendra's initiative. Manipur has emerged as the champion state where the Bandhan program has emerged as a major source of employment for the local tribes. The initiative aims to promote minor forest products, centric livelihood development of tribal gatherers and artisans. It mainstreams the tribal community by promoting primary level value addition to MFP at grassroots level. Implementation implemented through Ministry of Tribal Affairs as nodal department at the central level and TRIFID as nodal agency at the national level. At state level, the state nodal agency for MFPs and the district collectors are investigated to implement at grassroots level. Locally, the Kendras are proposed to be managed by a managing committee consisting of representatives of Bandhan SHGs in the cluster. Composition. As per the plan, TRIFID will facilitate establishment of MFP-led multi-purpose Bandhan Vikas Kendras, a cluster of 10 SHGs comprising of 30 tribal MFP gatherers each in the tribal areas. The Northeast leading the way with 80% of the established VDVKs. Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh or other states where the has been adopted with overwhelming results. TRIFID. It is the national level cooperative body mandated to bring about socio-economic development of tribals of the country by institutionalizing the trade of minor forest produce and surplus agricultural produce collected or cultivated by them. It was established in 1987. It is under the administrative control of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Important functions. It plays the dual role of both a market developer and a service provider, empowering the tribals with knowledge and tools to better their operations in a systematic, scientific manner and also assist them in developing their marketing approach. It is involved actively in capacity building of the tribal people through sensitization and the formation of self-help them. The organization also assists them in exploring and creating opportunities to market the developed products in national and international markets on a sustainable basis. Second scheme from this ministry, Mechanism for Marketing of Minor Forest Produce through Minimum Support Price and Development of Value Chain for MFP scheme. The government has included 14 new minor forest produce items under the Mechanism for Marketing of Minor Forest Produce through a Minimum Support Price scheme. Newly included items are Tasar cocoon, elephant apple dry, bamboo shoot, malkagani seed and will dry mushroom among others. About this scheme, the central government had introduced a minimum support price for a selected list of minor produce items through Mechanism for Marketing of Minor Forest Produce through Minimum Support Price and Development of Value Chain of MFP scheme in 2011. It aims to provide a social safety net to these underprivileged forest dwellers and to aid in their empowerment. Implementation. The responsibility of purchasing MFP on MSP will be with state designated agencies. To ascertain market price, services of market correspondents would be availed by the designated agencies, particularly for major markets trading in MFP. The scheme supports primarily value addition as well as provides for supply chain infrastructure like cold storage, warehouses, etc. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs will be the nodal ministry for implementation and monitoring of the scheme. The minimum support price would be determined by the ministry with the technical help of TRIFID. TRIFID is implementing to generate employment and income generation among the tribal population. What is MFP? Section 2(1) of the Forest Rights Act defines a minor forest produce MFP as all non-timber forest produce of plant origin and includes bamboo, brushwood, stumps, canes, cocoon, honey, waxes, lac, and medical plants, etc. From next, Ministry of Defense. In this we have 4 schemes. First scheme, Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020, DAP 2020. The Cabinet has approved enhanced delegation of financial powers for capital procurement to the senior officers below the rank of Vice Chief of Armed Forces. Significance: the delegation of power will help in the modernization of armed forces. DAP 2020. It was unveiled in September 2020. The new policy superseded the Defense Procurement Procedure of 2016 from October 1, 2020. The DAP contains policies and procedures for procurement and acquisition from the capital budget of the Ministry of Defense in order to modernize the armed forces, including the Coast Guard. Highlights of the new policy. First one, reservations for indigenous firms. The policy reserves several procurement categories for indigenous firms. DAP 2020 defines an Indian vendor as a company that is owned and controlled by resident Indian citizens with foreign direct investment not more than 49%. Second one, new by category. Global manufacture in India. This stipulates indigenization of at least 50% of the overall contract value of a foreign purchase brought with the intention of subsequently building it in India with technology transfer. Third one, greater indigenous content. It promotes greater indigenous content in arms and equipment of the military procures, including equipment manufactured in India under license. In most acquisition categories, DAP 2020 stipulates 10% higher than DPP 2016. Fifth, offset liability. The government has decided not to have an offset clause in procurement of defense equipment. If the deal is done through intergovernment agreement, government to government, or an ab initio single vendor, the offset clause requires a foreign vendor to invest a part of the contract value in India. Second one, Defense Acquisitions Council, DAC. What is it? To counter corruption and speed up decision making in military procurement, the government of India in 2001 decided to set up an integrated DAC. It is headed by the Defense Minister. Objective: the objective of the DAC is to ensure expeditious procurement of the approved requirements of the armed forces in terms of capability sought and time frame prescribed by optimally utilizing the allocated budgetary resources. Functions: the DAC is responsible to give policy guidelines to acquisitions based on long-term procurement plans. It also clears all acquisitions which include both imported and those produced indigenously or under a foreign license. Third scheme, One Rank, One Pension Scheme. OROP impels uniform pension to personnel based on rank and length of service, irrespective of the date of retirement. The government had implemented the long-pending demand of veterans in November 2015, and as per the notification, it is to be revised every 5 years. Armed forces personnel who had retired till 30th June 2014 are covered under it. The implementation of the scheme was based on recommendations of the Koshari Committee. Fourth scheme, Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization. Recently, Raksha Mantri has launched the Naval Innovation and Indigenous Organization. The NIIO is a 3-tiered organization. Naval Technology Acceleration Council will bring together the twin aspects of innovation and indigenization and provide apex level directives. A working group under the NTSC will implement the projects. A technology development acceleration cell has also been created for induction of emerging disruptive technology in an accelerated time frame. The NIIO puts in place dedicated structures for the end users to interact with academia and industry towards fostering innovation and indigenization for self-reliance in defense in keeping with the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Next ministry, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. In this we have two schemes. First one, Consumer Protection E-Commerce Rules 2020. The Consumer Protection E-Commerce Rules 2020, notified on July 23rd, regulate all commercial transactions sold over a digital or electronic network. The e-commerce rules currently recognize two e-commerce business models, namely marketplace model and inventory-based model. The rules have separate specified provisions for marketplace and inventory-based entities. The e-commerce rules require that all information on the return, refund, exchange, warranty and guarantee, delivery and shipment of the goods or services being sold, including their country of origin, be provided on the platform. Such details enable consumers to make an informed decision. Marketplace model of e-commerce means providing of an information technology platform by an e-commerce entity on a digital and electronic network to act as a facilitator between buyer and seller. Note: the Consumer Protection Rules 2020 are notified under the new Consumer Protection Act 2019. The Consumer Protection Rules 2020 are mandatory and are not advisories. Second scheme, Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS. Bureau of Indian Standards is the national standard body of India working under the aegis of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. BIS was established by the Bureau of Indian Standards Act 1986, which came into effect on 23rd December 1986. The Bureau of Indian Standards Act 2016 made the BIS a national standards body. The BIS Act has been implemented since 12 October 2017. BIS is responsible for the harmonious development of the activities of standardization, marking and quality certification of goods and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. From next ministry, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, we have 5 schemes in this ministry. First one is One District, One Product scheme. First one is One District, One Product scheme. One District, One Product initiative is operationally merged with districts as export hub. Initiative being implemented by Directorate General of Foreign Trade, Department of Commerce with Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade as a major stakeholder. The Department of Commerce through DGFT is engaging with state and central government agencies to promote the initiative of One District, One Product. The objective is to convert each district of the country into an export hub by identifying products with export potential in the district, addressing bottlenecks for exporting these products, supporting local exporters or manufacturers for scale-up manufacturing, and find potential buyers outside India with the aim of promoting exports, promoting manufacturing and service industry in the district and generate employment in the district. Under the initial phase of the ODOP program, 106 products have been identified from 103 districts across 27 states. Background: ODOP is basically a Japanese business development concept which gained prominence in 1979. It is aimed at promoting a competitive and staple product from a specific area to push sales and improve the standard of living of the local population. Over time, it has been replicated in other Asian countries as well. Second one, Prarambh, Startup India International Summit. This summit is being organized by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. This summit marks the 5th anniversary of the Startup India initiative launched on 16th January 2016. This summit will be the largest startup conference organized by the Government of India since the launch of the Startup India initiative. Third one, Spices Board. Spices Board is a body under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It was constituted in 1987 and the Spices Board Act 1986. It was constituted in 1987 under the Spices Board Act 1986 by merging the Cardamom Board and the Spices Export Promotion Council. The Spices Board is one of 5 commodity boards functioning under the Commerce Ministry. It is an autonomous body responsible for the promotion of the 52 scheduled spices and the development of small and large cardamom. Fourth scheme, National Productivity Council (NPC). NPC has been granted accreditation conforming to ISO by National Accreditation Board for Certification Board and Quality Council of India for undertaking inspection and audit work in the area of food safety audit and scientific storage of agricultural products. This accreditation is valid for a period of 3 years. Implications: this accreditation will enable it to undertake independent third-party audits of food business operators, including food storage warehouses, as per food safety and standards regulations 2018 of FSSAI, as well as inspections of warehouses as per Warehousing Development and Regulatory Authority Rules 2017. About NPC, established by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India in 1958. It is an autonomous multi-party, a non-profit organization. NPC is a constituent of the Tokyo-based Asian Productivity Organization, an intergovernmental body, of which the Government of India is a founder member. Fifth one, Merchandise Exports from India Scheme. Merchandise Exports from India Scheme under Foreign Trade Policy of India is one of the 2 schemes introduced in Foreign Trade Policy of India 2015-20 as a part of Exports from India Scheme. The rewards are given by way of duty credit scrips to exporters. The MEIS is notified by the DGFT, means Directorate General of Foreign Trades, and implemented by the Ministry of Commerce and Industries. Objective of the scheme: to offset infrastructural inefficiencies and associated costs involved in export of goods and products which are produced or manufactured in India, especially those having high export intensity, employment potential, and thereby enhancing India's export competitiveness. MEIS replaced the following 5 other similar incentive schemes present in the earlier Foreign Trade Policy 2009-14. Focus Product Scheme, Focus Market Scheme, Market Linked Focus Product Scheme, Infrastructure Incentive Scheme. From next ministry, Ministry of Labour and Employment. In this we have 2 schemes. First one, Atal Bimit Vyakti Kalyan Yojana. Employee State Insurance Corporation decided that in cases where the employer has shown zero contribution in respect of an employee for some months before exiting him from the system, the relief under ABVKY for such period of zero contribution shall also be allowed. What's the issue? It was brought to the notices of ESIC that in some cases employers have struck off their employees from the rolls few months after actually terminating them from services. During this period, ESI contribution was also not filled by the employers for these employees in the system. As the relief under Atal Bimit Vyakti Kalyan Yojana is available only in case of unemployment of the insured persons, such employees through terminated from service became ineligible for relief under this scheme. About this scheme, it is a welfare measure being implemented by the Employees State Insurance Corporation. It offers cash compensation to insured persons when they are re-ended unemployed. The scheme was introduced WEF in 1st July 2018 on pilot basis for a period of 2 years initially. The scheme has now been extended for another 1 year, that means from 1st July 2020 to 30th June 2021. In 2020, eligibility criteria for availing the relief were relaxed as under: the payment of relief has been enhanced to 50% of average of wages from earlier 25% of average wages payable up to maximum 90 days of unemployment. Instead of the relief becoming payable 90 days after unemployment, it shall become due for payment after 30 days. The insured person can submit the claim directly to ESIC branch office instead of the claim being forwarded by the last employer, and the payment shall be made directly in the bank account of IP. The insured person should have been in insurable employment for a minimum period of 2 years before his or her unemployment and should have contributed for not less than 78 days in the contribution period immediately preceding to unemployment and minimum 78 days in one of the remaining three contribution periods in 2 years prior to unemployment. Second scheme, National Career Service Project. It is one of the mission mode projects under the umbrella of e-governance plan. It works towards bridging the gap between job seekers and employers, candidates seeking training and career guidance, and agencies providing training and career counseling by transforming the National Employment Service. NCS provides a host of career-related services such as dynamic job matching, career counseling, job notification, vocational guidance, information on skill development courses, internships, and alike. Ministry of Labour and Employment, under its National Career Service project, offers free online career skills training for its registered job seekers. From next ministry, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. In this we have two schemes. First one, Sagarmala Seaplane Services. Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways is initiating the process of commencing operations of the seaplane services on the select routes under a special purpose vehicle framework through prospective airline operators. The project execution and implementation would be through Sagarmala Development Company Limited, which is under the administrative control of the ministry. One such seaplane service is already in operation between Kevadia and Sabarmati riverfront in Ahmedabad. Second scheme, National Authority for Recycling of Ships. The Centre has notified the Directorate General of Shipping as the National Authority for Recycling of Ships. The notification was issued under the Section 3 of the Recycling of Ships Act 2019. Roles and functions. As an apex body, DG Shipping is authorized to administer, supervise and monitor all activities relating to ship recycling in the country. It will also be the final authority for the various approvals required by the ship recycling ad owners and state governments. Hong Kong Convention for Ship Recycling. Under Ship Recycling Act 2019, India has acceded to Hong Kong Convention for Ship Recycling under International Maritime Organization. IMO adopted the Hong Kong International Convention for the Safe and Environmentally Sound Recycling of Ships in 2009. The guidelines are aimed at ensuring that ships being recycled after reaching the end of their operational lives do not pose any unnecessary risk to human health, safety and the environment. The convention is yet to come into force because it has not been ratified by 15 nations, representing 40% of the world merchant shipping by gross tonnage and a maximum annual ship recycling volume of not less than 3% of the combined tonnage of the countries. Recycling of ships in India and neighbors. India is the largest ship-breaking player in the world, recycling around 70 lakh gross tonnage every year, followed closely by Bangladesh. Pakistan and China are the third and fourth largest players. Around 800 vessels are sent for breaking every year around the world. India accounts for around 30% of that work, with an average 250 ships recycled majorly at center at Alang, Gujarat. From next ministry, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, we have two schemes. First one, Pradhana Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Prayojana. 8 immunity boosting products launched under Pradhana Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Prayojana for sale through Janaushadhi Kendras across country. It is a companion launched by the Department of Pharmaceuticals of the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. It seeks to provide quality medicines at affordable prices to the masses through special kendras known as Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Kendra. Initially launched in 2008, this scheme was reopened in 2015. Implementations: Bureau of Pharma, PSUs of India, is the implementing agency of PMBJP. BPPI, Bureau of Pharma Public Sector Undertakings of India, has been established under the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Government of India, with the support of all these CPSUs. Silent features of this scheme: ensure access to quality medicines, extended coverage of quality generic medicines so as to reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure on medicines and thereby redefine the unit cost of treatment per person. Create awareness about generic medicines through education and publicity so that quality is not synonymous with only high price. A public program involving government, PSUs, private sector, NGO societies, cooperative bodies and other institutions. Create demand for generic medicines by improving access to better healthcare through low treatment cost and easy availability wherever needed in all therapeutic categories. Second scheme for promotion of bulk drug parks, launched by the Union Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers in line with the vision and clarion call for making India Atmanirbhar in the pharma sector. Scheme for promotion of bulk drug parks. This scheme envisages creation of 3 bulk drug parks in the country. The grant in aid will be 90% of the project cost in case of Northeast and hilly states, and 70% in case of other states. Funding: maximum guarantee in aid for one bulk drug park is limited to rupees 1000 crores. Next ministry from Niti Aayog, we have 3 schemes. First one is Vision 2035 Public Health Surveillance in India. Niti Aayog has released a white paper, Vision 2035 Public Health Surveillance in India, with the vision to make India's public health surveillance system more responsive and predictive to enhance preparedness for action at all levels. Citizen-friendly public health surveillance system will ensure individual privacy and confidentially enabled with a client feedback mechanism. Improve data sharing mechanism between center and states for better disease detection, prevention and control. India aims to provide regional and global leadership in managing events that constitute a public health emergency of international concern. Focus of the paper and significance. It contributes by suggesting mainstreaming of surveillance by making individual electronic health records the basis for surveillance. Public health surveillance is an important function that cuts across primary, secondary and tertiary levels of care. Surveillance is information for action. It envisions a citizen-friendly public health system which will involve stakeholders at all levels, be it individual, community, healthcare facilities or laboratories, all while protecting the individual's privacy and confidentiality. The white paper lays out India's Vision 2035 for public health surveillance through the integration of the 3-tiered public health system into Ayushman Bharat. It also spells out the need for expanded referral networks and enhanced laboratory capacity. Second scheme, National Program and Project Management Policy Framework. Launched by Niti Aayog and Quality Council of India, the framework envisages to bring radical reforms in the way infrastructure projects are executed in India. It has an action plan to adopt a program and project management approach to infra development, institutionalize and promote the profession of program and project management and build a workforce of such professionals, enhance institutional capacity and capability of professions. Third scheme, Atmanirbhar Bharat Arise Atal New India Challenges, launched by Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog. Aim to spur applied research and innovations in India, MSMEs and startups. Who will implement? The program will be driven by Indian Space Research Organization ISRO, 4 ministries: Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Food Processing Industries, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and associated industries to facilitate innovative solutions to sectoral problems. Key features of the program: it will support deserving applied research-based innovations by providing funding support of up to Rs 50 lakh for speedy development of the proposed technology solutions and or product. From disaster management, we have 6 schemes. First one is Disaster Management Act. About the Disaster Management Act 2005, the stated object and purpose of the DM Act is to manage disasters, including preparation of mitigation strategies, capacity building, and more. It came into force in India in January 2006. The Act provides for the effective management of disasters and for matters connected therewith or incidents thereto. The Act calls for the establishment of National Disaster Management Authority with the Prime Minister of India as chairperson. The Act enjoins the central government to constitute a National Executive Committee to assess the national authority. All state governments are mandated to establish a State Disaster Management Authority. Powers given to the Centre. Power bestowed by DM Act on central government and NDMA are extensive. The central government, irrespective of any law in force, can issue any directions to any authority anywhere in India to facilitate or assist in the disaster management. Importantly, any such directions issued by central government and NDMA must necessarily be followed the union ministries, state governments and state disaster management authorities. In order to achieve all this, the Prime Minister can exercise all powers of NDMA. This ensures that there is adequate political and constitutional heft behind the decisions made. Relevance of DM Act in this pandemic. COVID-19 is the first pan-India biological disaster being handled by the legal and constitutional institutions of the country. The lockdown was imposed under the Disaster Management Act 2005. Under the Act, the states and districts authorities can frame their own rules on the basis of broad guidelines issued by the ministry. The legal basis of the DM Act is Entry 23, Concurrent List of the Constitutional, Social Security and Social Insurance. Entry 29, Concurrent List, Prevention of the extension from one state to another of infectious or contagious diseases or pests affecting man, animals or plants can also be used for specific law making. In case of a disaster, the priority of all authorities under the Disaster Management Act 2005 is to immediately combat the disaster and contain it to save human life. Second one, State Disaster Response Fund. Ministry of Home Affairs treat COVID-19 as a notified disaster for the purpose of providing assistance under the State Disaster Response Fund. What is a disaster? According to the Disaster Management Act, a disaster is defined as calamity or grave occurrence in any area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accident or negligence, which results in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to, and destruction of property or damage to or degradation of environment, and is of such a nature or magnitude as to be beyond the coping capacity of the community of the affected area. Ministry of Home Affairs has defined a disaster as an extreme disruption of the functioning of a society that causes widespread human, material or environmental losses that exceed the ability of the affected society to cope with its own resources. 31 disaster categories are organized into 5 major subgroups, which are water and climate related disasters, geological related disasters, chemical, industrial and nuclear related disasters, and biological related disasters, which includes biological disasters and epidemics. What is the State Disaster Response Fund? Constituted under the Disaster Management Act 2005 by respective states, and it is the primary fund available with state governments for responses to notified disasters. Composition: the central government contributes 75% towards the SDRF allocation for general category states and UTs and over 90% for special category states UTs, which includes northeastern states, Sikkim, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. For SDRF, the central releases funds into 2 equal installments as per the recommendation of the Finance Commission. Support from the National Disaster Response Fund. It supplements the SDRF of a state in case of a disaster of severe nature, provided adequate funds are not available in the SDRF. The disasters covered under the SDRF include cyclones, droughts, tsunamis, hailstorms, landslides, etc. Deciding authority. The State Executive Committee headed by the Chief Secretary is authorized to decide on all matters relating to the financing of the relief expenditure from the SDRF. Features of SDRF. SDRF is located in the public account under reserve fund, but direct expenditures are not made from public account. State government has to pay interest on a half-yearly basis to the funds in SDRF at the rate applicable to overdrafts. The aggregate size of the SDRF for each state for each year is as per the recommendations of the Finance Commission. The share of GOI to the SDRF is treated as a grant in aid. The financing of relief measures out of SDRF are decided by the State Executive Committee constituted under Section 20 of the DM Act. SEC is responsible for the overall administration of the SDRF. However, the administrative expenses of SEC are borne by the state government from its normal budgetary provisions and not from the SDRF or NDRF. The norms regarding the amount to be incurred on each approved item of expenditure are fixed by the Ministry of Home Affairs with the concurrence of Ministry of Finance. Any excess expenditure has to be drawn out of the budget of the state government. Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal ministry of overseeing the operation of the SDRF and monitors compliance with prescribed process. COG audit the SDRF every year. Third one, National Disaster Response Force. The Disaster Management Act has made the statutory provisions for constitution of National Disaster Response Force for the purpose of specialized response to natural and man-made disasters. Role and man-made of NDRF. Specialized response during disasters. Proactive deployment during impending disaster situations. Acquire and continually upgrade its own training and skills. Community capacity building program. Organize public awareness and campaigns. Impact basic and operational level training to state response forces, that means police, civil defense and home guards. Fourth one, Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. Introduction of an appeal by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in January 1948, the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund was established with public contribution to assist displaced persons from Pakistan. The resources of the PMNRF are now utilized primarily to render immediate reliefs to families of those killed in natural calamities like floods, cyclones, earthquakes, etc., and to the victims of the major accidents and riots. Assistance from PMNRF is also rendered to partially defray the expenses for medical treatment like heart surgeries, transplantation, cancer treatment, etc. Key features. PMNRF has not been constituted by the Parliament. The fund is recognized as a trust under the Income Tax Act, and the same is managed by the Prime Minister or multiple delegates for national causes. PMNRF is exempt under Income Tax Act. Prime Minister is the chairman of PMNRF and is assisted by officers or staff on These contributions also qualify as CSR, corporate social responsibility, spent for companies, making it more attractive in terms of tax exemptions. How are the surplus funds of PMNRF deployed? In general, funds are either disbursed immediately or they are committed for specific purposes. The balance of the funds invested in various forms with scheduled commercial banks and other agencies to ensure long-term sustainability. Type of contributions accepted in PMNRF. PMNRF accepts only voluntary donations by individuals and institutions. Contributions flowing out of budgetary sources of government or from the balance sheets of the public sector undertakings are not accepted. At the time of natural calamity of devastating scale, Prime Minister makes an appeal for donation to the fund. During coronavirus lockdown, the laws that come into play, Section 188 IPC deals with those disobeying an order passed by a public servant and provides for imprisonment ranging from 1 to 6 months. For those violating orders passed under the Epidemic Diseases Act, Section 188 IPC is the provision under which its punishment is awarded. Section 51 of the Disaster Management Act 2005 provides for punishment for two kinds of offence: obstructing any officer or employee of the government or person authorized by any disaster management authority for discharge of a function, and refusing to comply with any direction given by the authorities under the Act. Punishment can extended to 1 year. Punishment can extended to 1 year on conviction, or 2 years if the refusal leads to loss of lives or any imminent danger. Section 505 IPC provides for imprisonment for 3 years or fine, or both, for those who publish or circulate anything which is likely to cause fear or alarm. Section 54 of the Disaster Management Act provides for imprisonment extending to 1 year of those who make or circulate a false alarm or warning regarding a disaster or its severity or magnitude. Under Section 52 Disaster Management Act, whoever makes a false claim for obtaining any relief, assistance, repair, reconstruction, or other benefits from any official authority can be sentenced to a maximum of 2 years. 2 years imprisonment, 2 years imprisonment and a fine will be imposed on the person. Sixth one, National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA. The National Disaster Management Authority NDMA had released guidelines for restarting manufacturing and chemical industries after the lockdown. It is issued guidelines on chemical disasters 2007, management of chemical disasters 2009, and the strengthening of safety and security for transportation of POL tankers 2010. About NDMA, on 23rd December 2005, the Government of India enacted the Disaster Management Act, which envisaged the creation of National Disaster Management Authority. It is headed by the Prime Minister. State disaster management authorities headed by respective chief ministers to spearhead and implement a holistic and integrated approach to disaster management in India. It has the following responsibilities: lay down policies on disaster management, approve the national plan, approve plans prepared by the ministries or departments of the Government of India in accordance with the national plan, lay down guidelines to be followed by the state authorities in drawing up the state plan, lay down guidelines to be followed by the different ministries or departments of the Government of India for the purpose of integrating the measures for prevention of disaster or the mitigation of its effects in their development plans and projects, coordinate the enforcement and implementation of the policy and plans for disaster management, recommended provisions of funds for the purpose of mitigation, provide such support to other countries affected by major disasters as may be determined by the central government, take such other measures for the prevention of disaster or the mitigation or preparedness and capacity building for dealing with threatening disaster situations,